Dysplasia is basically it's kind of a, with dysplasia, what we have here, we have kind of a, what's sometimes referred to as like abnormal or deranged looking cells. Um, in a very common area where dysplasia occurs in would be the cervix. All right, be the cervix. All right, that's why females are strongly recommended to get the pap smears. All right, that's supposed to be two words, not one word. Sorry, I didn't mean to lump those together like that. But that's why females are, either recommended to get pap smears either when they become sexually active or when you reach the age of 18. All right, typically whichever one comes first. I'm not saying, and they're typically recommended to get one, once a year. All right, now I'm not saying you have to get one, but it's not a bad idea. And typically one of the most common causes of dysplasia is exposure, to constant irritants and inflammation. That's also why this happened. This can happen frequently in the respiratory system as well. For breathing, inhaling irritants all the time. All right, but but with this, basically, what you see here with these squamous cells, squamous cells are probably the most boring cells that you can possibly look at in the human body. They're just small, flat cells. All right, there's not a whole lot going on. They're just typical epithelial cells, lining and covering cells. That's really about it. All right, so when you take a look at these, so you remove so with a pap smear, the physician goes in, removes a small sample of the cervix, and then stains the sample, and then this is what they should normally look like. These are normal looking squamous cells, just small and flat, nothing to them. They're boring. All right. But then when we think about these dysplastic cells or cells that are undergoing dysplasia, basically they tend to take on a fairly common appearance. They tend to be smaller in size because you can see that this is even with this close up that makes it look bigger, it's still much smaller than these squamous cells, and they tend to take on kind of an ovoid shape, and their nucleus also tends to be ovoid as well. Remember, ovoid resembling an oval. All right, so dysplastic cells have a pretty distinct look to them. Now, if a female goes in for a pap smear and these cells turn up, that doesn't mean that she has cancer. All right, dysplastic cells when they are found does not mean that a person. It's not a cancer diagnosis. All right, this is done as for preventative purposes. All right, so if these are caught, then you have to obviously these are going to be this person is going to be monitored and looked at early on, and to try to prevent cancer from taking place. But if left alone, there's a good chance that these dysplastic cells are going to proliferate and grow and then become cancerous. All right, so that's why these screenings are done. All right, and one of the things you hear about is the human papillomavirus, the HPV. Viruses can cause cancer, but it's really not as common as. I'll say they can do it, but it's not that common. A lot of it depends on the virus and the type of tissue damage that occurs and so on. But a lot of times, like you hear about people, we're pushing women, especially younger women, to get the HPV vaccine, so they can prevent themselves from getting cervical cancer. That's kind of the scare tactic that's used. I'm not saying I don't want to dissuade anybody from doing that. But you have to remember, I think this kind of sends the wrong message out there because we're telling people, look, go get this vaccine, everything will be okay. That's kind of we're not literally saying that, but that's kind of the hidden it's kind of the generalized version of that. And the problem with that is that it doesn't teach safe practices. If you really want to avoid something like this, teach your kids safe practices, all right? And when I say teach your kids, it's not, sex ed in school does help and it's important, but realistically, when it comes to the real education that your daughters are going to get, that's got to come from home first. All right. So if you really want your children to be safe, especially your daughters, like I said, I don't want to dissuade anyone from getting the HPV vaccine, but realistically, education comes first. All right. And the last thing that I want to, and that's my